There's a part of success almost nobody talks about. Not in books, not over business lunches, not even when people brag about their achievements. That hidden part is the grind. When people think about growth, they imagine something glamorous and shiny, something worthy of a photo on the wall. But the truth is far less polished than the picture in their mind. Growth isn't about spotlights and applause. Growth lives in repetition, in routine, and in resistance. That's where it hides. When he first stepped into business, he had dreams, like anyone else, big dreams, ambitious dreams, and in his imagination, everything unfolded quickly and easily. In his mind, there was going to be a big break, loud applause, a dramatic breakthrough. It all looked perfect in his imagination until reality walked in. Reality didn't bring a spotlight. It brought a broom, a dustpan, and a long list of things that simply needed to be done. There were calls to make, books to read, miles to travel, hours to spend, not in celebration, but in preparation. That was the real picture. He discovered something vital. The grind is where ordinary effort is transformed into extraordinary skill. That's where the miracle happens, even though it rarely feels like a miracle. The grind feels like early mornings and late nights. It feels like doing the same thing again and again and again until something deep inside finally shifts. If you're waiting only for the glamorous part, you might be waiting a very long time. Growth hides in the places most people refuse to look. It lives in the corners, in the shadows, in the quiet routines that never make the news and never show up in the highlight reel. And here is something crucial. Without the grind, talent never becomes greatness. Talent stays potential. There is nothing automatic about becoming exceptional. Talent is a promise, but the grind is the fulfillment of that promise. Many people have talent to spare, but they never build the discipline to match it. How many times have you looked in the mirror and thought, if only I had worked a little harder, stayed a little longer, gone a little further? That is the conversation the grind wants to have with you. It is not there to punish you or sentence you. It is not something to avoid at all costs. The grind is an invitation. It is the narrow gate, and only a few accept it, because walking through it demands repetition and effort. Most people resist. The grind is picking up the book again when you'd rather pick up the remote. It is making the next phone call when the last 5 all went badly. It is getting up early even when you didn't sleep enough the night before. It is saying no to the easy path, the shortcut, the quick fix that leads nowhere. It is saying yes to the hard road, the one that actually leads somewhere meaningful. That's what separates spectators in life from the people who change life. The grind isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become while you're doing it. Each repetition carves new skill. Each routine adds another layer of strength. Every small act of discipline is another step in building the life you truly want. So he challenges you. Look for the grind in your own life. Where have you been avoiding it? Where have you chased shortcuts when, deep down, you knew the long road was the right road? Where have you mistaken comfort for progress? Remember, it's inside the grind that the seeds are planted, and inside the grind that the harvest is guaranteed. So don't ask for an easier life. Ask for the strength to endure the grind and grow through it. On the other side of the grind is growth, not just any growth, but the kind that lasts, the kind that stays with you for life. That is the necessity of the grind. Ordinary effort made extraordinary by one simple decision to keep going when quitting would be easier. So if the grind is necessary, the real question becomes, how do you keep showing up? What keeps you coming back long after the excitement has faded? Many people believe that motivation separates the successful from the unsuccessful. They say, if only I felt more inspired, if only I were in the right mood. But winners don't build their lives on motivation, they build on schedule. Motivation is like the weather, sometimes sunny, often cloudy, always changing. A schedule, a routine, is like the sunrise. It's dependable, it's consistent, and consistency is what builds empires over time. The daily grind is not punishment, it is preparation. Every morning you follow your schedule, you lay another brick in the foundation of your future. Life is not about suffering for the sake of suffering. It is about building something solid with deliberate daily action. He used to wonder how some people kept going year after year, even when the results were slow or invisible. What he discovered was this: they built habits that worked for them even on the days when they didn't feel like working for their habits. They set the alarm, read the books, made the calls, walked the track, whether or not they felt inspired that day. Consistency is what builds the muscles of mastery. Not one grand gesture, not one intense day of effort, but the steady pulse of action over and over until it becomes who you are. Each day you stick to your disciplines. You deposit another coin into the bank of your own character, and that account begins to grow. Over time, those deposits compound. They start working for you, even on the days you feel tired, discouraged, or off your game. Still, it is always tempting to look for an easier way to tell yourself you'll get back on track next week, or that you just need a break from the routine. But every day you postpone, every routine you abandon, is a day lost in the fight for your own potential. So it's time to flip the script. Treat your routine not as a prison, but as a passport. Every small discipline, each call, each meeting, each hour spent reading stamps that passport for a better life. When you make the grind a daily habit, it doesn't just shape your schedule, it starts shaping your identity. The routine becomes part of who you are. People begin to ask, how does he keep going? How does she stay so consistent? And the answer is simple: discipline. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. You practice it. You stumble and get up, until one day the routine is carrying you. The daily effort becomes training for bigger battles ahead. What once felt heavy becomes your new normal. There was a time when he thought discipline meant saying no to everything fun, shutting down every pleasure. But real discipline is not about rejecting joy. It is about saying yes to your future and staying loyal to your own possibilities. True discipline is showing up day in and day out because you know every day matters, especially the days when you don't feel like it. So he invites you to examine your daily schedule. Is it built around comfort, or is it built around growth? Do you rely on your feelings to decide, or have you created routines that will build your future regardless of how you feel in the moment? The daily grind is not punishment. It is preparation for the life you want, the strength you will need, and the person you are meant to become. There will be tough times. There will be pain. And most people will run from it the moment it shows up. But every winner he's ever known has learned to respect those tough times, the sting, the ache, the discomfort that appears the moment you reach for something bigger. This isn't the pain of injury or reckless choices. This is the honest discomfort that proves you're stretching beyond your old limits. Growth always demands a trade: comfort for capacity, ease for expansion. If you want more, you must become more. Becoming more means leaving something behind, usually your comfort zone. Most people misread discomfort as a warning. When things start getting hard, when the routine bites back, they say, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. But here's the new lens. Pain is proof of progress. The grind hurts, not because you're failing, but because you're forming. With every struggle, you're building new muscles of character, patience, and skill, none of which grow in comfort. He remembers the early years speaking to empty chairs, getting more rejections than invitations. Every no stung. Every empty seat felt like defeat. But every time he stood up again, every time he returned to the routine, something inside was growing. A tenacity that easy victories can never teach. Discomfort became his teacher. It revealed weak spots, but it also revealed what he was willing to endure to become better. Anyone who has built something meaningful, a business, a relationship, a career, will tell you the grind never feels easy. You don't get to stretch without some strain. That is the law of growth. Just like lifting heavier weights in the gym requires pushing past what's comfortable. Yes, it hurts, but that hurt is the signal that it's working. Don't mistake that pain for punishment. It is the price of admission to the next level of your life. If you're feeling worn out, stretched thin, tempted to quit, pause and recognize what that means. You are exactly where you should be. That discomfort is not your enemy. It's the sign you're on the right track. Every great reward is built on a foundation of endured discomfort. The discipline to keep showing up through the pain is what separates those who grow from those who simply go through the motions. If the pain is honest, if it comes from pushing your limits, not breaking yourself, wear it like a badge. It means you're forging something new inside you, making deposits into the account of your own strength. One day, you'll look back and realize it wasn't the easy days that shaped you, it was the tough ones. So today, wherever you are, whatever you're working on, don't shrink from the pain of progress. Don't trade away long-term capacity for short-term relief. Every ache, every setback, every difficult morning is a brick in the foundation of your growth. That's the grind. That's the proof. When you feel the sting, remind yourself this is what change feels like. You are forming new habits, new skills, and new levels of excellence that weren't there before. Pain can be challenging, but there is another obstacle that sneaks up on anyone who's working towards something meaningful: boredom. That creeping dullness shows up when the excitement fades, and all that remains is repetition. Most people take boredom as a sign to change course. They start looking for something new, chasing a fresh thrill, assuming the feeling means they're on the wrong path. But that's not how winners think. The great divide in life is right here, between those who quit when it's dull and those who keep producing through repetition. Real progress is rarely exciting. It's not a parade, it's not fireworks, it's not loud applause every day. Most of the journey is quiet, ordinary, and often a little boring, and that's exactly where most people give up. But when you study the people who achieve real, lasting results, they all share one thing. They learn to turn boredom into leverage. They keep going even after the excitement has long disappeared. They do the work whether or not it feels new. The grind rewards those who stay with it, especially when it's dull. The secret is learning to love the process, not just the outcome. The process is where you learn, where you sharpen skills, where you build character far more than in the moments of excitement. If you can find joy in the simple act of showing up and doing the work, no matter how many times you've done it, you enter a category most people never reach. He remembers the long evenings of practice, repeating the same lines, refining the same stories over and over, not glamorous, but transformative. Most people get trapped in the search for novelty. They want every day to feel like the first day, filled with excitement. But if every day is a new beginning, there's never progress toward mastery. Winners understand this deeply. Mastery is built on repetition, not novelty. Progress comes from depth, not just variety. It's built when you stick to the same fundamentals long enough for them to shape you. So how do you turn boredom into leverage? You start by reminding yourself what the repetition is building. Every time you go through the motions, you're not wasting time, you're investing it. Each repetition stacks a small improvement, a tiny advantage. Those small advantages compound into something extraordinary. When you feel the urge to quit because it's boring, that's the signal to double down. That moment is your opportunity to outlast your old self, to break old patterns by holding steady in the routine. Find small ways to improve, tweak something, measure progress, turn it into a game if you must, but stay in the process. The longer you stay in the process, the deeper your roots grow. And when the winds of challenge blow, it's the deep roots that keep you steady. Winners find joy in the process, not in novelty. They find satisfaction in doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Over time, the process transforms them. One day they wake up with skills most people never reach, not because of talent, but because they didn't quit when it got dull. So when boredom tempts you, remember, this is the test. This is where the mediocre turn back and the determined move forward. Turn your boredom into leverage. Let it push you toward deeper discipline and higher mastery. If you can outlast the dull days, the world eventually rewards you with days you never thought possible. But you've got to stay in the process, find your rhythm, and let the grind do its work even when nothing seems to be happening. That's how you turn boredom from an enemy into your greatest advantage. So how do you apply this in your life? If you're going to stick with the grind day after day, year after year, You cannot depend on how you feel. Emotion is temporary. Systems are permanent. It's easy to start something new when excitement is high. But trouble shows up later when you're tired, discouraged, or distracted. That's when your emotions start whispering reasons to skip, delay, or quit. Without a system, a framework, those whispers can win. Winners automate their progress through structured routines. They build systems that work even when they don't feel like working. Think about the athlete who trains because the schedule demands it, not because motivation magically appeared. Think about the writer who fills a page every morning, whether inspired or not. Or the business owner who opens a shop on time, rain or shine. When you rely on emotion, you become a prisoner of mood and circumstance. But when you rely on systems, your growth moves on autopilot. A good system keeps your train moving forward, steady, reliable, unshakable. Building one isn't complicated, but it does require honesty and commitment. Start by deciding what matters most. Maybe reading each morning, making 5 calls a day, or walking daily. Write the rule down, make it visible, then guard it with your actions. Don't trust your memory, trust your system to remind you. The beauty of a system is that it frees your mind for bigger things. The decision is already made, your job is to follow through. This is where so many people stumble. They let their feelings run the show, forgetting that feelings are fickle. They rise, they fall, they change without warning. But a system stays. It catches you when you're falling. It carries you when you're tired. It nudges you forward when you'd rather stand still. And the best systems are simple. Don't try to overhaul your entire life in one dramatic sweep. Choose a handful of key actions, build a routine around them, and protect that routine like your future depends on it, because it does. The day will come, because it always does, when you don't feel like it. When the grind feels heavy, when excuses sound convincing, that's when your system takes over. You show up, you follow the plan, and the momentum begins to move again. That's progress built on a foundation that lasts not emotion, but structure. So ask yourself, where are you relying too much on emotion? And where could you put a system in place to make progress automatic? Don't just hope you'll act. Make it hard not to act. Design your environment, your reminders, your schedule, so that even on your worst days, the grind continues. Systems beat emotion every time. Structure beats willpower every time. Winners build frameworks that carry them through fatigue, discouragement, and every excuse that tries to pull them off course. Over time, those simple systems and ordinary routines carry you to extraordinary places. Let the grind be built on systems, not just feelings. That's how you guarantee forward movement even when your emotions say otherwise. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can achieve in a year with steady discipline. One workout, one study session, one phone call, small actions repeated daily become irreversible momentum. Discipline works like interest in a bank. Small deposits look like nothing at first, but they grow in silence until one day the results shout. Think of planting a tree. On the first day, nothing happens. The first week, still nothing. The first month, just a tiny sprout. But day after day, as you water it, protect it, nurture it, the roots grow deeper. The trunk grows stronger. Over time, that small sprout becomes something sturdy, something capable of standing through storms. Discipline works exactly the same way. You may not notice the change each day, but over time, the results become impossible to ignore. He remembers those early days, making the calls, reading the books, working the plan. Some days it felt like progress was crawling in slow motion, but he made himself a promise. He would show up every day, do the work, and give the effort no matter how small the step. Looking back, he sees clearly that those tiny, unseen acts of discipline made all the difference. Each discipline day compounds. Miss one and it won't hurt much. Miss 2 or 3 and you begin losing ground. But stack up enough discipline days, keep adding those small victories, and eventually you build a mountain of momentum. That momentum can carry you through storms far bigger than you ever imagined. You don't need giant leaps. You only need small steps, taken again and again, without quitting. Consistency beats intensity every time. One workout won't transform your body, but 100 will. One good meal won't change your health, but 1,000 might. Destiny is shaped by the daily repetition of small disciplines. So ask yourself, where can you start compounding discipline in your life? What is one thing, just one, you can do every single day that will matter a year from now? It doesn't have to be dramatic. Reading 15 minutes, writing a page, making one more call, saving one more dollar, or expressing gratitude once a day. Those small acts add up. Every day you choose discipline, you aren't just investing in today, you're building something that lasts. Momentum doesn't arrive all at once. It's built quietly inside the grind, where every small act of discipline stacks into a force that can move mountains. When you're tempted to quit, when it feels like your effort isn't making a difference, remember the compound effect. Every day counts. Every step matters. Keep going, and one day you'll look up and see momentum that cannot be stopped. And that momentum will serve you well, because the grind will expose your weaknesses. It will reveal your blind spots, highlight your flaws, and sometimes knock you off your feet. But here's the difference between those who grow and those who give up. Winners reframe failure as feedback. So many people fear mistakes. They tiptoe around opportunity, terrified of getting it wrong. But the grind doesn't punish you with failure, it instructs you with feedback. Every stumble is a lesson wearing a disguise. Every misstep shows you exactly where you need to improve. If you listen carefully, every mistake delivers a lesson no book could teach. Failure is not a verdict, it's data. If you tried and it didn't work, you've learned one more way not to do it. Winners extract lessons instead of excuses. They mine failure for wisdom instead of hiding from it. He remembers the presentations that flopped, the deals that slipped away, the routines that worked in theory but fell apart in practice. Each time the pain was real, but each time he chose not to run from the lesson. He leaned into it and asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" That's the mindset that turns failure into a stepping stone. If you avoid the grind because you fear failure, you'll never discover your limits or your true capabilities. Failure is the grind pointing out what still needs work. It's not the end, it's a checkpoint. Champions begin awkward and uncertain. They fail more times than they succeed, but they keep learning. They built a relationship with failure, rooted not in shame, but in curiosity. They learned to stay open, not defensive. So when the grind trips you up, resist the urge to hide or give up. See the setback for what it is: a clue, a signal, a valuable piece of feedback. Let failure teach you, guide you, sharpen you. When you reframe every mistake as a lesson, you unlock the ability to grow faster and farther than you ever imagined. Don't run from the grind just because it exposes your weaknesses. Embrace the exposure and let it make you stronger. Every lesson learned becomes another brick in the foundation of your success. The grind is the process of turning weakness into wisdom and mistakes into mastery. That's the secret. Let the grind teach you, extract the lesson, leave the excuse behind. So what's the real prize of the grind? Is it the money, the applause, the trophies, the titles? Not really. The ultimate goal isn't to escape the grind or finish it once and for all. The goal is to let the grind become part of who you are. After enough repetition, enough discomfort, enough discipline, a shift happens inside you. You don't just do the work anymore, you become the kind of person who works. You don't just chase growth, you become someone for whom growth is natural, effortless, like breathing. Most people miss this truth. They chase a result, thinking that once they reach it, they'll be satisfied. But the moment they reach one finish line, another one appears. There's always a new hill, a new goal, a new summit. When the process itself becomes your identity, you are never left empty-handed. Every day in the grind becomes its own victory. Every act of discipline, every adjustment after a setback, every ordinary routine followed with extraordinary commitment, all of it is a win, no matter what the scoreboard says. The real question becomes, who am I becoming as a result of this grind? Growth that lasts isn't about completing a checklist. It's about transforming your standards, your habits, your character. You can lose the trophy, lose the job, lose the applause, but you can never lose who you became through the process. When the grind is no longer something you endure, but something you embrace, it becomes part of your story, part of your standards, part of your self-respect. At that point, growth becomes inevitable. You find joy in early mornings, meaning in late nights, in purpose, in every repetition. The grind shifts from something you have to do into something you get to do. It's no longer about reaching the finish line, it's about becoming the kind of person who never stops growing in every season, high or low, seen or unseen. So take inventory. Are you working only for an outcome, or are you working to become someone greater? The grind is not a temporary phase. It's not a stepping stone. It's the entire foundation on which a meaningful life is built. If you learn to love the process, to let it shape who you are, success will not just be something you achieve, it will be something you attract. That's the final secret. Don't fight the grind. Don't wish for the finish line. Let growth become your identity. When growth becomes who you are, the grind becomes the guarantee not just for results, but for a life filled with progress, purpose, and deep satisfaction. The process becomes the prize, and the real reward is who you become.